Welcome back, everyone. Let's dive into some intriguing developments from Week 2 of Cowboys OTAs. There's a rookie making waves on the depth chart, and some eye-opening commentary from the players themselves. Let's get straight into it. We'll start with Cowboys defensive tackle Osa Odighizuwa, who had some revealing thoughts about the team's new defensive philosophy under defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. In a recent report by John Machota, Osa spoke about the adjustments taking place on defense and how they directly impact his role. He noted that when reviewing film from last season, he saw numerous plays where, had he been asked to do what he's being coached to do now, the outcome might have been very different. In his words, "I'm making that play. I'm making this play." That's a confident statement, one that speaks to how significant the schematic changes truly are. Now, to understand this, you have to look back at how Mike Zimmer's system functioned. In Zimmer's scheme, defensive tackles were often tasked with eating blocks, basically occupying space and freeing up the linebackers behind them to shoot gaps and make the tackles. The goal wasn't disruption from the front line, it was facilitation. That's a very different approach from what Eberflus is implementing. Under Eberflus, the front seven, especially the defensive tackles, are being encouraged to attack the football. This isn't about just holding up blockers anymore. It's about being disruptive, creating chaos in the backfield, and making direct plays on the ball. And that's a system that suits several players on this Cowboys defense much better. One name that really stands out here is Mazi Smith. Last season, Smith was often used as a nose tackle with two gap responsibilities, essentially occupying space and plugging gaps. But that role didn't align well with his skill set or physical profile. Now, with a more attacking approach, we could see a version of Mazi that's more aggressive, more dynamic, and finally, more impactful. Simply put, the scheme shift under Eberflus is turning the defensive front into a group of playmakers rather than placeholders. That change could make all the difference for both returning players and young talents trying to find their footing. Let's continue with another young name to watch, Tyler Guyton. The Cowboys' first-round pick from this year is already showing signs of growth, not just physically, but mentally as well. In a recent interview, Guyton reflected on his rookie performance and didn't sugarcoat anything. He said plainly, "I had a lot to prove. I had a lot to work on. I didn't do too well last season. I want to be better. I want to be the guy they can depend on." That kind of honesty is rare from a young player, and it speaks volumes. It wasn't a scripted answer or a media-coached soundbite. It came from a place of accountability. Guyton knows exactly where he stands and what's expected of him. One major improvement he's made, his discipline off the field. Reports indicate he's overhauled his diet, cutting out fast food and fried meals. He even admitted that giving up Raising Cane's was tough, but he did it. The goal is clear: to reshape his body and reduce the risk of injuries that held him back during his rookie year. What many fans might not realize is that Guyton spent most of the second half of last season battling through injuries. That physical toll made it difficult for him to stay on the field consistently, leading to a constant can he go or not situation with the coaching staff. It also limited his ability to practice and develop rhythm, especially important for a rookie learning on the fly. And let's be honest, the previous regime didn't exactly prioritize long-term development. With the way last season played out, it often felt like the coaching staff was focused more on surviving each week than building for the future. But Guyton isn't making excuses. When asked about switching from right tackle in college to playing left tackle in the NFL, he responded clearly, "I'm not going to make any excuses. I just didn't play as well as I needed to last year. This year, I'm coming in with a different attitude to become a better player." And that mindset is already showing. Just take a look at the visuals from OTAs. He's drenched in sweat, working hard, and moving with a different level of urgency. You can feel the shift in his demeanor. He's more focused, more serious, and more determined to earn his place on this offensive line. Tyler Guyton isn't just talking about being better. he's acting like it. And if he keeps trending in this direction, the Cowboys could have a foundational piece on the offensive line for years to come. Let's shift the conversation to some broader observations around this Cowboys team, particularly on leadership, expectations, and the current dynamics in the locker room. There's a growing sense that Tyler Smith is stepping into a major leadership role on the offensive line. With the legendary Zach Martin now retired, there's been plenty of speculation about who would fill that void. From everything we've seen and heard this offseason, Tyler Smith appears to be that guy. He's not just talking like a leader, he's acting like one. During a recent interview, Smith said, "I love it. Getting downhill, putting a body on a body, imposing your will. The coaches told us we're going to go as the offensive line goes. And we've taken that to heart. That mindset matters." Smith is embracing the pressure, taking ownership of the group, and making it clear that the offensive line's performance will set the tone for the entire offense. But this sense of accountability isn't just limited to Smith. Across the roster, there's a noticeable shift in mentality. Players aren't shying away from expectations this offseason. Whether it's Smith, Guyton, or others in the locker room, there's a consistent theme: confidence paired with accountability. Even offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer has talked openly about the culture he's trying to instill. He's made it clear he wants this group to aim for having the best culture in the entire league. And he's not just tossing that around as a buzzword. He's backing it up with how he's organizing practices, demanding discipline, and setting clear expectations. That brings us to another discussion worth having: Trevon Diggs. While no official red flags have been raised, it's worth noting that Diggs has been noticeably absent from team activities and hasn't appeared in any recent team release photos or videos. Typically, injured players, especially high-profile starters, stay involved with the team to some degree during a recovery. So naturally, that raises some questions. It could be nothing, just a matter of the team letting him rehab privately. But it could also suggest that Diggs is on his own timeline, which makes it harder to gauge where he stands heading into the season. Until we hear otherwise, it's a situation worth keeping an eye on. There's also been very little mention of Deuce Vaughn this offseason. In fact, Schottenheimer has gone out of his way to highlight other players, like fullback Hunter Luepke, but has not brought up Vaughn at all. That silence is striking, considering how much preseason buzz surrounded him last year. The running back room is crowded, and at some point, tough decisions will have to be made. It's not about rooting against any one player. It's about recognizing the reality of roster construction. Depth charts are tight, and not everyone will make it. It's important to understand that discussing concerns or pointing out roster dynamics isn't negativity. It's part of evaluating the team objectively. If a player proves critics wrong, that's a win for everyone. The goal is to see the team succeed, and sometimes that means having difficult conversations about injuries, underperformance, or depth issues. Bottom line, the Cowboys' offseason is unfolding with a sense of urgency and renewed focus. Key players are emerging as leaders, expectations are being embraced, not avoided, and the competition for roster spots is already intensifying. With training camp on the horizon, all eyes will be on how this group continues to respond to that pressure. One of the more interesting shifts in the Cowboys' approach this offseason has been a move away from the overly cautious, overly corporate messaging that's defined the team's tone in recent years. Historically, the Cowboys have been hesitant to place public expectations on themselves. They've focused on saying the right things, avoiding bold predictions or strong declarations about what they hope to accomplish. But that tone appears to be changing. According to offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer, that change is intentional. Schottenheimer has encouraged players to be themselves, to show personality and confidence in what they believe they can achieve. That has translated into a more authentic, outspoken locker room, where players are not only embracing expectations, but doing so vocally. And for the Cowboys, that change could be a good thing. When players believe in what they're building and aren't afraid to say it out loud, it can set the tone for the entire season. We've already seen it in how Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, and others are stepping forward with strong leadership energy. That confidence is no accident. It's part of a broader culture shift. But there's more to the offseason than messaging. Let's talk about one of the more intriguing developments on the field. Rookie defensive tackle Jay Toia. Toya, drafted in the 7th round out of UCLA, has quickly turned heads in OTAS. Despite his late-round draft status, Toya is earning first-team reps at nose tackle, a clear sign that the coaching staff wants a closer look at what he brings to the table. While it's still early and OTAs are largely experimental in terms of lineup rotations, Toya's emergence is notable. The Cowboys' defensive front, particularly at nose tackle, is an area of need. And Toya, despite not having prototypical measurables, brings a high motor, excellent leverage, and surprising strength to the position. His college tape shows a player with an explosive first step, the ability to control the point of attack, and real physicality in the trenches. Had he been a bit taller or longer in the arms, many believe he would have been a day 2 pick. Instead, he landed in Dallas as a value pick, and he's quickly making his presence felt. Toya isn't just holding his own. He's drawing praise from teammates as well. Veteran defensive tackle Osa Odigizua and others have reportedly spoken highly of his work ethic and potential. Even Mike Zimmer's defensive staff seems encouraged by Toya's early progress. There's also been talk that Toya could see meaningful snaps alongside or in rotation with Mazi Smith, the 2023 first-round pick. In fact, a 60-40 rotation between the two has already been floated as a potential scenario if Toya continues his current trajectory, and that competition at nose tackle matters. The Cowboys' run defense has been a point of concern in recent years, and multiple players, including linebacker Kenneth Murray Jr., have made it clear that fixing the run defense is a top priority. Murray recently stated that this defense will, for sure, stop the run in 2024. That confidence is backed by history. New defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus built strong run defenses during his time in Indianapolis. In his first season with the Colts, his defenses finished among the league's best in limiting rushing touchdowns and yards per carry. While it's always difficult to project first-year results with a new system, the early indications suggest that Eberflus is emphasizing physicality and fundamentals up front. With Eberflus at the helm and players like Toya pushing for early playing time, the Cowboys may finally have the right mix of talent and coaching to solve their long-standing issues against the run. And if that happens, it could elevate the entire defense into top-tier territory. All eyes now shift to how Toya and others perform during the more competitive portions of training camp and preseason. The nose tackle job isn't locked in, and depending on how things play out, the Cowboys could also explore adding a veteran presence, especially with June 1st cuts around the corner. But make no mistake, Jay Toia is officially in the conversation. As we continue to evaluate the defensive overhaul under new coordinator Matt Eberflus, it's important to place his track record in the proper context. One common mistake in evaluating coaches is focusing too much on their first or final seasons with a team. Those transitional years often don't reflect the true impact of a system or scheme. The first year is typically filled with personnel changes, schematic adjustments, and the challenges of implementing a new culture. Conversely, the final year often coincides with circumstances that lead to termination, injuries, roster instability, or systemic fatigue. So when assessing Eberflus's ability to build a strong run defense, it's the core of his tenure that deserves attention. During his time as defensive coordinator with the Indianapolis Colts, 2018 to 2021, Eberflus consistently fielded top-tier run defenses. Across 3 of those 4 seasons, the Colts ranked in the top 10 in rushing yards allowed and even cracked the top 5 in scoring defense against the run. That level of consistency is rare, and it speaks to Eberflus' schematic discipline and emphasis on fundamentals. His later stint as head coach of the Chicago Bears from 2022 to 2024 offers more nuance. While his first and final seasons were rocky, typical of a rebuilding franchise, he still managed to lead Chicago to the NFL's top-ranked run defense in 2023. That's no small feat given the Bears' overall struggles during that period. And while Eberflus wasn't the defensive coordinator in Chicago, his defensive background clearly influenced that unit's performance. What's most intriguing about his arrival in Dallas is the raw talent he now has at his disposal. For the first time in his coaching career, Eberflus is inheriting a defense with elite blue-chip talent already in place. He's never coached a player like Micah Parsons or worked with a supporting cast this deep. Featuring DeMarcus Lawrence, Oza Odigizua, Darren Bland, and Trevon Diggs. The optimism around Eberflus's impact isn't just external, it's internal. Players have repeatedly gone on record this offseason, pledging a renewed focus on stopping the run. Kenneth Murray Jr., Leighton Vander Esch's expected replacement at linebacker, has been vocal about the defense's new identity. And according to multiple sources, Eberflus has made stopping the run a foundational talking point in every meeting, every session, and every install. If that emphasis translates to the field, the Cowboys could finally shed one of their most persistent weaknesses. Over the last few seasons, the team has struggled to consistently stop the run, particularly in key moments, and it's cost them, in both the postseason and in close divisional games. But now, the pieces may finally be in place. The coaching, the personnel, the buy-in, it's all aligning for a potential leap in 2024. And as this team gears up for training camp, fans should focus less on individual snap counts or OTA rotations and more on how the defense is being reshaped from the ground up. Because if the Cowboys can finally stop the run, the ceiling for this unit rises significantly. With a strong run defense complementing an elite pass rush and opportunistic secondary, Dallas could be fielding one of the most balanced defenses in the league. And for a team that's been on the brink for multiple seasons now, that balance could be the difference between early playoff exits and a legitimate Super Bowl run. The expectations are high, and rightfully so, but for now, it's about execution. And from what we're hearing out of the locker room and seeing on the practice field, this team is ready to take that challenge head on.